being on a plane, you're sitting next to a stranger, they lean over and say, "Hey, I'm just starting my journey. What advice do you have for me?"
First of all, let me appreciate you for asking a question that I haven't been asked after 2,500 or so interviews over the years.
The very first thing I would say is you have to drop the ego, which is everyone's greatest obstacle. And so the ego is your ego.
The fear of trauma, again, in the future is called anxiety because you didn't know how to deal with it in the past.
In 2008, Grant and I had been married for 4 years. I was pregnant with my first child. The economy was collapsing, and we were on the verge of losing everything financially.
Hey everybody, it's Corey Poirier here. Excited to have you back for another edition of the Enlightened Passenger Show. Have a brand new guest again this time. My guest today is Derek Warburton, and I never do this, but I'm actually going to read a bit from his bio because, I mean, there's so many things I could cover, and I don't want to get off track sharing all the things that Derek has accomplished. So just a little bit of his bio is Derek is an internationally renowned media and beauty entrepreneur, celebrity stylist, TV personality, philanthropist, creative director, and in his words, and most importantly, or I think his words, a storyteller. He is the media entrepreneur behind Mr. Warburton Media, and he's the editor and chief of the Los Angeles Inquisitor, and then also Guru's Magazine and Mr. Warburton Magazine. And so, as you can tell, I wanted to get that all right. So again, I took some peeks down, which I don't normally do. But yes, such an exciting conversation. It was so cool to hear the different work that he's involved in, including the gifting suites that he's involved in as well. And at the end of the day, I really feel Derek is someone who is making big magic happen on a daily basis by stepping into the work that he believes in and something he's passionate about. And he also has done so much good work for different foundations and also his own charity that he runs. And so I just really hope you enjoy this conversation with Derek Warburton. Also, lest I forget, don't forget to get your copy of the Enlightened Passenger book. You can get it at thisisthebook.com. Other than that, I will see you on the other side of this interview.
Hello, everybody. It's Corey Poirier, and I'm back again with a brand new guest, Derek Warburton. Derek, I'm super excited to have you here. And one of the things that I do, I think, is maybe a little different for people, is I like to ask the guests to tell us a little bit about themselves to kick things off versus me reading a bio. Because I find when I read them, I'm reading words wrong. I say the wrong name. So I like to get the guests to tell us just to start off in the right tone. So can you tell us I know you have an amazing journey, but can you just tell us like a Reader's Digest version of the journey?
Thank you. Sure. Yeah. My name is Derek Warburton. I am a media personality and also a media entrepreneur, and I guess a creative entrepreneur. I've been in the business for 30 years now, and I host things around the world, and I own Guru's Magazine, the Los Angeles Inquisitor, and Mr. Warburton Magazine. And overall, I'm a storyteller, and I spend a lot of my time working on philanthropic causes that literally around the world, and ambassadors for multiple organizations, just helping as many people as possible.
So, I'll jump in right from there because I think a lot of people would love for that to be their life. Now, I know, as you and I both know, it's like people that I travel all the time. People are like, "You're so lucky." And I'm like, well, come and live out of a suitcase for a month. Not everybody, that's not for everybody. So I understand what goes into it, but I'm sure a lot of people would love that journey. So can you tell us a little bit about how did you get into this? Because 30 years in this industry seems like that's work, like you love it, but it's work.
No, of course, I made a decision. That's the thing that people don't really understand, You make a decision, you go with it. And that's the secret to success, And for me, success was also part of my journey because I was a homeless teen. This last couple weeks with the LA fires were really triggering because I was in a fire at 13 years old, literally the same type. And I was in the woods, running through the woods in the embers. And I had so much come back that I didn't realize I had still. And, I was helped by a fire department that came and brought clothes. And I never forgot that. And so when I was in my early 20s, I just knew that it was part of my life journey to help people that had lost everything, whether they were homeless or displaced or what it was. And my entire life has been really focused on that. And, oddly, when that part of my life ended and I got to go back to my family and finish high school and then go to college and everything, I was from a tiny town in New Hampshire. I knew no one, but it was always nonprofit work that taught me how to meet other people. It gave me a lot of social skills, because who are you going to meet doing nonprofit work? People like you, like-minded, that have a heart. Also, people that want to give back for their blessings.
Right.
And I wanted to be that person. And that's what I did.
And so this is kind of probably a jump from there to the magazine side, but I spent, I'm going to say, 8 years in the newspaper publication world. So I had small specialty newspapers, like entrepreneurial type newspapers, where I was profiling people and storytelling. And so I know that world a little bit. I did it monthly for 8 years. So my question is, out of that, is how did you get into the magazine world? Because that's a totally different world, right?
That was the first thing I did. It was just, it found me. It was very simple. I had friends that started magazines when I was really young. And then I lived in Boston right out of college. And I met all these people. They were like, oh, why don't you do a social column? Why don't you do a beauty column? Why don't you do a fashion column? And I just started writing in the beginning. And it was all fun and light. And I had always been in hair and makeup or styling or whatnot. And, I really became known from styling. That was really, what got me where I am. And I could do all of it, frankly, and I've had a makeup collection since, and I've done all these different things, which felt at the time, that was a time where you pick one thing and you do that, where we live in a world now where if you do one thing, you're like, everyone's like, get a side hustle, get a side hustle. You know what I mean? Like, it's a totally different concept. But I've had 50 side hustles since I was 18 years old, because I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, and I knew you could never have enough skills. And I knew I'd be an entrepreneur. And so I needed to learn everything. But now I'm so grateful I did, because my brands are so specific. I help people create brands, and I can help them really decipher what works and what helps them get to where they want to go and how to build that, because I've been able to build ours. And also because I have that skill set, I can create something that looks like it was $1 million for
a lot less.
Yes.
Well, and I'm curious on the magazine side, because that world has obviously evolved in a massive way.
Oh, 100%.
What does it look like now versus then for you? Meaning, obviously it was very much when you started, I would think, because I know it was when I did, very much print. It was a print world.
Oh my
gosh, I
yes.
remember dial-up internet and thinking, maybe we should put this thing on the line. I didn't even know what it was. And you couldn't have then. It would have just been
right.
And so I'm sure likewise you started, it was only print. And so what does that evolution look like, and how have you managed to stay in the game?
We printed for a long time before with a different magazine I had, and I can tell you it was so rough. And people forget, it was just the ever-changing landscape, but also the shipping. It was also the printing costs, and then also with the online structure, people were advertising less and less. And now when people ask me about printing, because we don't print at all now, and I wouldn't, because in the next 5 years, it's gone. I mean, look at this week alone with China and their new AI blowing everyone away. People have lost billions of dollars this week alone. And that's just going to continue. And I feel like, we live in a world now where when they ask me about it, I'm like, well, you can go to the hair salon and turn to page 57 and then see this, where, when I work with people, I always tell them, I'm here to build your brand. And even as an advertiser, I have to tell them that, because that is really what we're doing. It's a glorified ad agency. a lot of times with what we do, because that is what we're doing. And so when we work with the brand, I always tell them, I care about your Google flooding. I care about coming to the top of search engines. That's what I focus on for you, because this is not the olden days of, going to the hair salon and looking at it. It's not how this works. And I can't remember the last time I bought a print edition unless it was something very special. And so I'll buy a very special thing, and I think people still do. So there is space for that. But now for us, especially, that's why it's all about doing live events. That's why I do Oscar retreats. That's why I do beauty awards. That's why I do, entrepreneurial awards, because that is where we are. And that is how to highlight advertisers. It's how to highlight different things that you want to talk about. We do a lot of nonprofits because that's my heart and space, and also, our partners, and we want to continue to show the world that that matters, and we need to give back for our blessings. That's just the core of who we are as a company. And also, I want to highlight young businesses, because it's very difficult, and it's harder and harder to find your space, because you have to find your audience. And we really talk about building community, which is a huge part of the live events, because the live events help people engage with you. And our live events are so different than others because people stay. We have a solid community. They always show up, and I'm talking hundreds of people come, and they really engage, and we create interesting scenarios for things to do. Like, we're doing something for the Oscars coming up where I'm bringing in the farmers market, because I want people to be able to feel that community, and the farmers market makes you feel like you live in a community. And I was like, get your fresh vegetables, and then we have a juice station so you could take those vegetables and make fresh juice. We live in a world now, especially, where you can't go to the grocery store and trust it. But I trust a real farm. And so that's how we subliminally talk to our audience and really make them feel at home, and that they really feel in a community, and that we really care about them, mind, body, spirit.
So on the business side, before I get into my wind down questions, but on the business side, it sounds like from a branding point of view, and this is what happened to me, is I had the newspaper and it was regional, and I knew the end was near. I could have kept going. And in that market where it's at, I could still be going today, and maybe even be a little bigger, but I knew it could never go beyond that, and it would be stuck there. And so I evolved into quote unquote online radio before podcasting. Blog Talk Radio was the one I was on. And we sold sponsors then. Yeah. And what I found, and we started with no listenership and sold 30 sponsors, and people like, how's that possible? And I said, it's because we're not just selling airtime or a spot, we were selling a whole package. So I did live events at the time as a speaker, and they would be our sponsors of the events. And so it was a whole package. And it sounds like that was an evolution for you too, where now as a 100%. Sponsor or an advertiser, they could be a part of the event and the magazine versus just an ad in the magazine. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we don't really do ads like that. Like a lot of times what we'll do is, like we have a beauty shoot coming up. So whatever beauty companies that we work with, add them in. We do gifting, we do all kinds of different things. And so, we have our beauty awards coming up in the summer, so we encourage them to join that, to apply for a beauty award, all different types of things. So we just have to be creative. When you think outside the box, our philosophy is don't be the best, be the only.
Wow.
That's it. Because we live in a world, everyone's the same. It's boring, no one cares. You're seeing the same things every day, every day, every day. And it's not that interesting, and consumers are not stupid anymore. They know what is up. They can, everything's at your fingertips. It's called Google. Go. And, I tell them all the time, I was like, go find something similar. You won't. You're not going to find what we do. Go ahead. Feel free. And I'm always looking for that, though, because I spend my time really racking my brain for, and I borrow from other people, but the way we do it, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you could do it differently from how somebody else does it in your own spin, but that's what's really important, and really leading the way. That's the real ticket, especially with what we do in media. We have to lead the way for people. and show them that there are other ways, and to show different ways for them to either highlight their product, to highlight their community, and to bring their community in, or their friends and their family, and all different things like that, because that gives them entertainment. It helps them learn. And, you know, when we're just constantly hit with hateful messaging, you know, I sell positivity. I sell love. I sell self-love. I sell self-esteem. That's
Wow.
what matters, you know?
So powerful. So this is the point where I ask people this question that I always ask, and then I have a follow-up question. But the question I always ask everybody, Derek, is what I call the time machine question. It's pretty simple. It's like it sounds. If you could jump into a time machine, go back and talk to a younger Derek, give him some life advice based on what you've learned in those 30 years or since, what do you think you might tell younger Derek?
Wow, that's a good one. Be more confident. Confidence, really. You know, don't care what anyone else says or think, because now I don't. But then I did, because of childhood reasons and whatnot, you know, always being put down. But at the same time, I always think that I would never want to go back, because if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be who I am now. And that's healing throughout. So why go back at all? You know?
Yeah, you've answered my follow-up question, which was, would you get in the time machine? But I wanted to ask you one more question, which relates more to the book that I wrote called The Enlightened Passenger, which is kind of the catalyst for this show. And it's a similar question to the one you just answered, but it's if you were sitting on a plane next to a stranger and they leaned over and said, hey, I need some life advice. Do you got any for me? So again, perspective is it's not life advice for younger Derek. It's the stranger that you just met. What do you think you might tell that stranger?
Wow, I actually get that a lot. People come up to me a lot because of energy or light or whatever they say to me. Heal. Heal. That's it. Spend time alone and really figure it out, because it's not about other people. It's not about other elements. It's not about anything else except loving yourself enough to be yourself.
Wow,
That's
profound.
it.
So, Derek, this has been an absolute pleasure. My final question, official one, is how do we learn more? Like, where would you send people? Is there a hub, a place you'd send them if they want to follow the magazines?
For sure, yeah. We have gurusmagazine.com, of course. We have the Los Angeles Inquisitor.com. And we have MrWarburtonMagazine.com. And, of course, you can go to my website or all social medias, all exactly as they sound. And we're kind of everywhere. It's hard to miss us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Derek. It's been an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. Till next time, to be continued.
Great.
Well, there you have it, our interview with Derek Warburton. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning about all the things that he is involved in and the magic he's making happen in the world. If you didn't already know about Derek's work, I hope you enjoyed it either way, actually. And until next time, I'm Corey Poirier. This is the Enlightened Passenger book at thisisthebook.com. Hope you grab your copy today. And until next time, I'm your host of the Enlightened Passenger.